Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for the Afterparty Season 2. Till death do us part. Hey, it's Nate, and if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for this spoiler-free review are my fellow after-party goers. He might have killed the subject in the jail room with the jousting stick. He's Justin, the jealous lawyer, Lawrence.
Wow. Again, just switching it up.
You know?
Love it. I love it.
Somehow always have to do with law, though, just because of that last name. I gotta
exactly. Yeah.
find
Don't
a
call
way.
me J-Law for no reason. So,
Could you be a lawyer? Do you think you'd cut it as a lawyer?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm as argumentative as I'd like to be a lawyer. But
too easily swayed.
I could be easily swayed. I could be a good judge. Let's just say that.
There we go. And that voice you heard in the darkness, in the distance, he might have killed the subject in the dank den with the dope-ass dagger. He's Darcy, the deadly ex-husband Hudson.
Ex-husband. Okay, weird. I was going to say, I want to know what Clue game you're playing that has a dank den.
A dank den. It's a lot of these new, for the TikTokers, they're making these new, age games of Clue where they've got their own weed den.
Yeah, it's millennial. It's millennial Clue, right?
Millennial Clue. Yeah, I think that works. But guys, I'm so happy this show is back in our lives finally. I think when season 1 ended, I wasn't sure we'd get a season 2, but I'm so glad that we did. And before we dive into our thoughts, I wanted to kind of have a little bit of fun here, and I wanted to ask you two, as Geekcentric, if we were to host an after party of our own, we just released our best interview in the whole world. We interviewed Tom Cruise or something. And we're all having an after party because of it. Who's getting murdered, and what genre of film would you retell the story in? Darcy, I want to start with you.
I couldn't think of who would be murdered. I feel like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to talk about.
I'll start then. Nate would get murdered.
Give us the subject. Give us the subject.
Nate would get murdered because he's naive. He's a little, as you would say, easily swayed.
I'm trusting.
So I feel like,
I'm trusting.
He's trusting. Okay, there you go. So
okay.
I feel like those he would definitely die. And I think the ironic thing is that he'd probably die at his own hands. That's what would be really interesting. Everyone would be accused of his murder, but it would actually have been him who had killed himself. But yeah, Darcy, what about your Mind movie? What would that be?
Mine, that one kind of came to me pretty quickly. It'd have to be like a stoner comedy or something like that.
Oh, I love it.
Just something super goofy and fun. And I guess my point of view would have a lot of those outdoor moments as I be frequently stepping out to get high again or something like that.
Right. It would so just
then,
be
okay,
you.
So my next joint, I saw this guy. Yeah, dude, you won't even believe what happened
every single time. And they don't know whether to trust you because you're just so high. I love that. I think, if I was the one to be murdered, I think for me in my version of this story, I'd be dropping my own suspicions of who was going to murder me through timed released podcast episodes. So they would post, and then as the kind of, you'd be trying to solve the mystery, I would be trying to give hints at who I was suspecting was about to murder me through the podcast. I think would be a really, really fun thing to do. And I think you could even, for the writing, you could have a lot of fun by incorporating ads that contribute to the story, like a purposeful ad for Keeps, and maybe one of the people that we suspect is going bald or something like that, or one for honey, and one of the suspects is a beekeeper or something. I don't know, all those ads that you hear, Audible. I don't know how you would tie Audible in. Well, maybe Darcy, because he loves books so much, and audiobooks. That could be. Am I trying to tell you something, Justin? Are you figuring out the mystery?
I don't know. I'm kind of confused by your genre story. I feel like I would want my story to be told probably in a sort of Nolan style film.
Everything's
taking
backwards?
itself super. Yes, exactly, and everything takes itself super seriously. There's a lot of time displacement and all sorts of stuff. So I feel like that would be the best representation of my mind movie told through a genre. I'd have to start at the end and go backwards. But while I'm going backwards, you're also seeing the past while seeing the future, all at the same time. Very much like yours, just confusing the hell out of everyone. So
I would watch it. I think all three of ours are much more confusing. Thankfully, this show is not as confusing, but just as mysterious. So let's get into it, talking about the synopsis for this show from Academy Award winners Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Fantastic gentlemen. Each episode of the Afterparty explores a different character's account of one fateful evening, all told through the lens of popular film genres and unique visuals to match the storyteller's perspective. In season 2, a wedding is ruined when the groom is murdered, and every guest is a suspect.
a subset.
I think I've been hanging around Darcy's character too long. Detective Danner returns to help Anik and Zoe solve a whodunit by questioning family members, star-crossed lovers, and business partners, and hearing each suspect's retelling of the weekend, each with their own unique perspective and visual style. The season stars returning characters played by Tiffany Haddish, Sam Richardson, and Zoe Chow. And joining the cast this season, we have Elizabeth Perkins, Zach Woods, Paul Walter Hauser, Poppy Liu, Anna Conkle, Jack Whitehall, Vivian Wu, John Cho, and Ken Jeong. The Afterparty returns to Apple TV Plus July 12th, which is tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the day that we posted it. Special thanks, as always, to our friends at Apple for letting us watch these episodes early for review. Now, as I said earlier, this is a spoiler-free review. We are going to be sharing our thoughts on the first 9 episodes. There are 10, but those horrible people that are letting us watch this stuff early only gave us 9. How dare they? They're going to make us wait all the way until, I guess, like September to watch the finale along with all of you. But while we may be discussing characters, performances, our overall thoughts on the show and some of the styles of some of these episodes, we are going to be steering clear of any major story spoilers. So just be aware, you're more than welcome to listen to this just to hear and get hyped for season 2. But let's kind of dive into that. Let's start right there with performances. I think this is such an incredible cast, just like last season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy that they brought back Sam Richardson, Zoe Chow, and Tiffany Haddish to kind of have that through point from season 1 to 2. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure. I thought only if they were to do a season 2, I thought only Tiffany Haddish, her character, would return. But I think the cool thing is that those 3 characters all share a different dynamic this season, given their history with each other in season 1. And I enjoyed their approaches to each of their characters this season. I think they're a bit more confident, and there's also sort of this added level of difficulty for Anik, because some of the suspects are members of the wedding party on Zoe's side, or on Zoe's sister's side. So you get this great dynamic between him and Danner, and sort of this challenge for him to sort of go even further out of his comfort zone than he was in season 1.
Yeah, I actually think that the returning cast in this show is a little underwhelming. And as much as they are, the main characters, they kind of feel secondary, even though they are the ones that are leading this investigation. But the real standouts are the new cast members, like Paul Walter Hauser, John Cho. I love Zach Woods as Edgar.
He's great.
He is fantastic. Even Elizabeth Perkins. Like, all of these people that are added to the cast are really are huge standouts in comparison to the returning cast from season 1. And I think it's because, as much as the first season slowly fed us into this idea of each character having their own story told through a style of genre, a lot of these new characters are already living within a genre. It's almost as if they present themselves as a genre before we get into their story. And I think that's kind of the advantage of season 2 in that way, is that there's a lot already built there in regards to understanding the formula of the Afterparty series. And now they can have a little fun with feeding in some of these characters that now might wholeheartedly lean into a genre. But yeah, I think the new cast members, the supporting cast members of this new murder mystery, they're definitely the standout for the Afterparty season 2 for sure.
I mean, I gotta say, I love the returning cast because, like Nate said, they have a different kind of spin on their characters, and it kind of feels reminiscent to, their maybe the other characters' past role in the first season. So I thought they had some fun, bringing those old characters back with a new face on them almost. But again, you said the new cast. Every episode, I was excited to see this new point of view because, like you said, they are such characters and they lean so much into these personas that it when you're taken into their mind movie, you're already there before the movie even starts, like you said, because you had a kind of a sneak peek of what they're going to be like in previous episodes or someone else's movie. So it's really fun how kind of like their personalities are so large, they're bleeding through all these different genres, which is really fun.
As you were mentioning, though, like he's someone who is kind of a chameleon, and it's kind of funny because he kind of walks around with a little gecko or lizard on his Zachary Woods as Edgar, because even as he transitions, as we see him throughout all the different genres, he's so adaptive to each genre. I think the biggest switch for me was episode 2. It was very Victorian style. And just the way his character wholeheartedly embraces the language, the style, the mannerisms. Like, I was laughing out loud. But, again, if you know Zach Woods, you know what he's good at. And he can play that
deadpan delivery.
Exactly. He does that deadpan delivery, but then he can switch it up really quickly. And it's refreshing. And I think having that as sort of a continuity through these stories is really great, because he kind of morphs himself through the genres.
Well, I think the funniest thing though about that Victorian era episode in episode 2 is the fact that he kind of talks like that outside. Like just in the normal everyday life, he is very much like that, very proper and always has the straightest back you've ever seen. And he's just this awkward tech mogul who's weird enough to be different from the other super awkward characters that I think Zach has played in the past. But I also I want to go back to John Cho, because he absolutely nails the fun uncle character of Ulysses. Like he's so good in this show, and I think his story is so over dramatic, but at the same time we get some really, really great dramatic performances from him. And it's like he's kind of like his episode, right? It's like the perfect blend of goofy and comedy, suave, but at the same time, like I kind of really felt something there. And I think I had a similar moment with Ken Jeong, who I've never seen emotional range from Ken Jeong like this before, and I thought there's literally, it's a very brief moment, but there's one moment that had me tearing up as we see his struggle as a small business owner, as a dad, and as a husband. And I just thought they did a really, really great job with kind of giving all of these characters room to kind of explore just more than just the comedic side of themselves.
It's funny. I'm totally with you with John Cho. I think that you're absolutely right. That character, that story was written to his acting capabilities, to give you the fun, but also to give you the dramatic. And I don't know. I don't know if it was just me, but it had like a very Wong Kar-wai, like In the Mood for Love kind of genre vibe. And I think it worked, the love that could never be sort of story. And I thought it was really great. I honestly thought Ken Jeong's episode was so weak. Like,
really?
I agree with you. There's an emotional range. And I think it has something to do with the era of what the genre is, the sort of millennial iPhone style
TikTok, I think narrator voice.
Yeah, I don't know if it really landed. And to your point, while Ken does deliver some emotional moments, I think those are stinted by like just a real sort of clunky navigation of his story throughout. And I think the same goes for the story for Detective Danner, because there's a bottleneck episode where we see what's Detective Danner been up to, which follows the same sort of trajectory from season 1, because we did get a bottleneck episode focusing on her story, but where that one informed the character so much more, here it just felt such a detour. Like, I enjoyed the genre it was riffing on, and Tiffany Haddish is fantastic. She's hilarious, but it was just such a detour that it was just so unnecessary. It was like an episode I could have done without. It didn't really add value like it did in the last one, because I think in the last one there was a reason why we drifted into Detective Danner's story.
I feel like there's also like her episode also served a purpose in this one too. I really enjoyed it, both the genre bend and the story itself. It was nice to see where that character has been and why, like what led her up to it. Much like that first season, getting why she was so gung ho about getting into these cases and becoming a part of these stories. And I thought it was really neat seeing, again, how that story plays out in this second season. It kind of doesn't go the way she's planning. So I love that. I gotta say, one of the most standout episodes for me was definitely Hannah's episode by
Wes Anderson,
with Anna Conkle.
Yeah.
The Wes Anderson vibes from the get-go. And again, even outside of that episode, she's one of the characters who, again, belongs in her genre. I loved it so much. She did an outstanding performance playing that, offbeat, adopted sister that is very much a Wes Anderson character to begin with.
Well, and it's funny too, because I really didn't vibe with her character up until that episode. And I know that makes sense. Like, I think that tracks. Like, you're not maybe supposed to like her up until then. But I really, as soon as that episode happened and we got to see her side of the story, but the way it was told, it just brought me right into full force into loving her character. And I think I love that the writing in this show is so good that when it puts the focus on any of these characters, it gets you to love them, that much more and really gets you behind their side of the story.
Exactly. Exactly. Each of these mind movies are their side of the story, and it gives you that perspective on each of the characters. I think a lot of the characters, you don't know how to read them, and it's just such a clever way of how they layer in all of these different things that you see from other people's perspectives, and then we somehow touch on them when we inevitably get to their story. I think that navigating that and making sure that all of those elements are in place to help tell the larger story, that's well done. And I also think that, as you said, like, Hannah was someone that you weren't vibing with, but until you saw her episode and saw her perspective, you suddenly had a new appreciation for her, right? And I think that that's the point of this format, in many ways, right?
100%, because I had the same feelings watching season 1, where by the end of every episode, you're on that person's side and you believe their story.
Like Brett from last season, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, he's such a douchey guy, and then you watch his action movies, and
you're
you're like,
like,
oh,
okay,
no, he's just a lovable hero. I like this. And the same thing is happening with this one, where I find the mystery is so well crafted and well written that as we're finding out these new clues and getting another person's perspective, they all of a sudden become the one that you believe a bit more. And it's really cool how they're managing to, like, balance this mystery with all these perspectives. You're not giving away, like, from the get-go, this is who did it. This is more like we're all in it for the ride at the same time as these detectives are getting these mind movies. I love it.
Well, I think it's fantastic that they managed to do this again, and I think while the premise is in, it's the same in the sense that it's centered around a character that's been murdered, I just think it's fantastic that they're still able to have this level of almost puzzle building, in a sense, right? You think of an escape room and you sort of think of going through, if you've ever had that experience where maybe you've done an escape room and the last puzzle references a solution from one of the previous puzzles. Like, that's one of the most fun parts about watching this show, and especially in this season, there are a lot of those moments where you're going to get to some of the later episodes and go, oh, that's where that was supposed to be, or that's where that came from. And I know they do that in season 1. I just think it's really impressive that they're able to keep that pace for season 2.
While it is the same premise, it is very well written in a way to build upon each episode, to give you clues. It kept me interested. It kept me really, engaged with what was going on. I also just really like how, the story is, it's about genres. Season 2 seems to embrace the sequel genre right from the first episode, with sort of, our introduction is into what has happened. The fact that they're able to kind of riff on basically more or less the same thing. It is literally the same thing. There's just a couple things that have changed here and there, but it is literally like the same mold of season 1. We're in a place where murder mysteries are kind of formulaic, right? We've had Knives Out, Glass Onion, more or less the same. Just different stakes, different characters, things are switched up. Only Murderers season 1 and 2 has also had, pretty much the similar structure from season to season. I think murders are different, the cases are different, of course, but more or less formulaic, the same. So is this just a product of murder mysteries? Like we were talking about before, playing Clue. You play Clue once, you've played Clue a billion times. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty much it, right?
I guess
Don't bash Clue. Clue's incredible.
No, I know, but I just mean like how much can they change from that board game, right? Like you can add new little elements, but it'll still essentially be Clue, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but every time you play, it's a new mystery, and it's the fact that it is formulaic and can still draw you in. I think is definitely a positive, because while most murder mysteries are formulaic, there is someone that dies, there's a cast of characters, you need to figure out who did it, and you go throughout solving that. You kind of can't change that and still call it a murder mystery. So the fact that they're managed to make it just as engaging as the first time we got this experience and genre exploration, that it's just as fun the second time around, I think that's huge kudos to the team.
Well, and I think that's exactly, like, I would agree with you, Justin, if I wasn't having so much fun with this version of Clue. And I think that's the big thing, is that I'm having a blast with it, and the moment that I'm not having a blast with it, then yeah, absolutely, let's break the mold even further. But I think they do something smart where they do still break out of genres. I mean, again, like the idea of doing a social media TikTok style episode, or the idea of doing not just a genre but a filmmaker style. Like you said, like you already came up with another one that I'm expecting for season 3. Like I want to see a Nolan-esque movie. I want to see, what was yours again? A like
stoner
comedy. Like
Kevin Smith. Give me a Kevin Smith
style.
But see, that's
episode.
to me, that's inventive of how you go beyond just genres. Because what's great is that they were able to find characters and genres that they were able to implement this season that obviously feel fresh and different from what they did last season. I'm waiting for a superhero genre at some point. But I don't
even know how they would do it, but that would be amazing.
But I also think that like you said, the fact that there is a Wes Anderson inspired episode, what other filmmakers could we see? Could we see a Spielberg? Could we see a Scorsese?
Dude.
I think it's definitely down the road. And again, I guess that just proves that there's a longevity to it. But like I said again, I think it is the product of what this show is. I'm kind of like dancing around what didn't work for me, and I think it comes back to what we were talking about at the top, is that our main characters just feel like they're sort of stuck at doing what they need to do. Zoe's definitely on a mission this season more so than she was last season, but I don't know, Anik just kind of seems like he's kind of along for the ride. Detective Danner is just doing her thing like they usually do. It's like, I guess that's just part of the formula.
I think that's it, Justin. I think every one of these need their vessel for the audience, and I think that's Anik this season for sure. I do want to just give 2 big, huge shout outs. I feel like the creative teams that work on these movies must be having such a freaking blast, or these movie episodes, this show. They must be having such a blast. I want to shout out Ross Raj, who I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your last name properly, but did the cinematography this season. Every episode is shot so well. We get so many dynamic angles and lighting, and I can only imagine getting to do this is such a fun challenge for each new style of episode. And I also want to shout out Daniel Pemberton, who has worked with Lord and Miller on Across the Spider-Verse, which I have not stopped listening to. But he must be having the time of his life on this show, like getting to write not only the outstanding theme song that he did, but a score that is as diverse as the various genres that we're getting from episode to episode. He is just killing it this season. I
gotta say, the music in this season is incredible. I've noticed it more so the way that the songs that we hear, in the first regular real world style storytelling, as we go through these different genres that are more period pieces, the music is blending to change and shifting to fit that era. And the fact that they went that far, and it's more than just the costumes now and the script, the way that it looks, the sounds are now going back to those genres. It's great.
Well, that's, Lord and Miller are clearly aware of the strength that genre has, not just from a visual or narrative standpoint, but also from an auditory, by implementing an attention to music and score that can make you feel like you're in a genre if you just close your eyes and you're just listening to it. And I think that that's what Pemberton does so well with the score, is that he's able to visualize the story from an auditory way. And I think that that's the power of genre on so many levels coming together in this show. And at the end of the day, this entire show is a celebration of genres. So
absolutely. And I think, I think it's just every time I hear that theme, and it just hits so well. But let's get to our final thoughts here. I think we're not going to give the season a rating just because we haven't seen the final episode. I think that's only fair. But I think to kind of give some perspective, I'd love to just quickly say, chat about maybe how does it compare and your final thoughts. So how does it compare to season 1 and your final thoughts? Darcy, let's start with yourself.
Well, yeah, I didn't know what to expect going into his second season of the show, and I gotta say I'm really impressed that I am as invested as I was the first time. They are nailing all the things that worked for the first season. They're doing it again this season and bringing again more attention to detail. That feels like they've really thought out these genres, and I love the way that they're telling the story. So yeah, I'd highly recommend checking this one out. If you've liked the first season, you'll enjoy the second season again. And even if you haven't seen that first season, you can even hop onto this one because they are separate stories. They don't kind of tie over or cross over or anything like that. So again, it's an engaging murder mystery. It's a fun little genre exploration. I think they're nailing it. It's such a fun idea, and I hope we get more, obviously, because there's, as we've talked about this one, there's a lot of opportunities for fun storytelling as well as these genre bends or homages to directors and stuff. So yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I knew what I was expecting when I was sitting down for season 2. It seemed like it was going to be pretty much the exact same setup. But what was surprising is the genre that each episode takes on. And I think that's really the delight. Not all of them worked for me. I think most of them worked for me, and I enjoyed most of them. I did enjoy the more filmmaker-inspired ones, like we were talking about Wes Anderson. There's a Hitchcock-style one. As I mentioned, there's a Wong Kar-wai, I feel like, In the Mood for Love sort of reference. Like everything was so lovingly embraced in each episode. But yeah, then there were some that just kind of fell short. Like I was mentioning, the returning cast is a little underwhelming, but the supporting cast, the new cast members that are part of this season 2 are fantastic. I think that in regards to how it compares, I think this compares exactly to season 1. If you were a huge fan of season 1, you are going to love season 2. You are going to very much enjoy each of the stories in the Mind movies that you'll see. But if by chance you are expecting something different, I would say don't. It is not different. It is very much the same. And I think, as we were talking about, that's part of the formulaic aesthetic to the murder mystery genre as of right now. I think everyone has their style or their sort of niche way that they do it, and season 2 is a huge testament to the niche that makes the Afterparty so special, and that is imagining these stories and genres. So I'm with you. I hope that when we get more for season 3, because I think that they'll do it, I would love to see not necessarily as many genres, but maybe more filmmaker styles, like we were talking about. I think that's an interesting exploration, like a better mix of that. Yeah, I'd like to see maybe them dabble in that a little bit more with, like, a Scorsese or a Spielberg or something like that.
I mean, I would even, like, if there's been there was a kid in the previous season. We don't really have any kids in this season, but if there's a season 3 with a kid and we get a Lego or even like a stop motion action figure style, would be really, really dope. Listen, Lord Miller, if you're listening to this, let's talk. I think this season is an excellent follow-up to season 1. I think it's a great way for the writers on this series to stretch their collective creativity, because as you were saying, Justin, like, there's only so many genres you can do, but they still manage to keep things fun and original, and play off, memes and tropes and as you said, different filmmaking styles. I think the cast is incredibly strong yet again, and everyone plays their parts so well. I think the one thing, though, to maybe some of what you were getting, Justin, that I did feel. I do think it is really difficult to deliver that same surprise that the first season gave, right? Some of that magic is gone.
Exactly.
But because of that, you almost sacrifice that to get some more confident and moments for them to kind of try different things. And while they might not all land to the same level of success, I'm so happy that they are trying different things with this season. It's just so damn fun to watch and even rewatch, which is something that we're all going to have to do until September. It's going to be a long wait, but I know it'll be worth it in the end. So yeah, if you can't tell by now, I think, as we've been saying, watch it. If you like season 1, you'll like season 2 all the same. But that is it for this spoiler-free review and discussion for the Afterparty Season 2. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this series or any of the other movies or shows we cover, well, let me just send an open envelope laced with poison over to Justin so he can let you know how you can reach us.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at geekcentricyt or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric. And hey, we're threading. So if you want to hit us up on Threads, we just started using it. You can find us there too at wearegeekcentric. Here's your envelope back.
You didn't lick it, did you? Did you lick it? Oh, good. Okay. Phew. Darcy, if you could lick this envelope for me. Keep in mind we have a ton of other episodes covering the latest and greatest shows and movies out now, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for Netflix's Nimona, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, The Flash, speaking of Wes Anderson, Asteroid City, and Disney and Pixar's Elemental, as well as the biggest summer blockbuster, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Plus, we have a ton of great interviews out now, like our most recent interview with the cast and director and creator of Nimona, which you can check out on our YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. We've got a ton of interviews over there, so definitely check those out. We've got more to come. We also have our weekly watch club for Secret Invasion, where we break down each episode, with our latest episode out now covering episode 3, where Kevin came up with a pretty spicy theory that probably isn't going to happen, but it would be wild if it did. So tune in weekly every Friday for Watch Club. I mean, as of, if you listen to this on the day we released it, episode 4 is only 1 day away. So super duper stoked to continue that series. And if you want to talk to us about your theories, maybe for Afterparty Season 2 once the show goes live, or for Secret Invasion, you can join us in our Discord by clicking the link in our show notes. We can keep the conversation going, talk directly to you, and just have a really wonderful hot geek summer together. Choo-choo! This hot geek summer is chugging along, and we've got coverage of movies like Haunted Mansion, Oppenheimer, depending on where you're from, as well as coverage for series like Foundation Season 2 and The Bear Season 2, with even more after that. So stay tuned. Find out what's next for us here. And really quickly, if you listened all the way until now, this just in, I'm doing the news thing where they put their hand up to their ear. Afterparty Season 2 will be debuting with 2 episodes. So you'll have 2 episodes to get started with this after party. Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for today's whodunit spoiler-free review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.